What's going on, everybody? I'm Kevin. I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about the impact of blues education. Why blues education? In order to understand American music, you have to start from its root. You know, blues didn't exist anyplace else. It was born in America. The issue with blues, a lot of times that folks carry with them, is that blues was born at a dark time. Blues was born during slavery. So when we talk about the blues, oftentimes for kids, they think of it as just being sad music for old people, you know? And that concept is easily dispelled once you understand the power of where it came from. And so talking about the origins of blues with students, letting them know that yes, blues was born during slavery, but it wasn't born because of slavery. It was born in spite of it. This music carried people through the darkest times. It helped them find a way. If you think about your own lives, on your best day, you listen to music. On your worst day, you listen to music. You might put your headphones on. Well, slaves didn't have headphones. In the fields, they were working and they would sing. And this music helped to give them the strength to move and keep moving. Now, it started with just what they called field hollers and work songs. But eventually it got introduced to instrumentation. And as that instrumentation came to be, it started to take different shapes. We started to get different sonic fingerprints, if you will. Everything from what we call Delta blues to Kansas City swing to the Minneapolis sound has evolved from this seed. Now, how does it get from point A to point B? It's kind of like a giant game of telephone. See, when folks were brought in and sold into slavery, brought in as slaves, and they were congregated in places like Congo Square, and they didn't always get the opportunity, they didn't speak the same languages, but they had instruments, drums, and those rhythms, they learned how to communicate. But then they were sold and they were sent to different places. And so everybody played what they thought they remembered. Kind of like the game telephone. You say to her, say, gets back around, it's something a little bit different. And that's how the blues started to evolve. If you hear blues from Texas, it sounds different than blues from Mississippi. If you hear blues from Mississippi, it sounds different than blues from Louisiana, so on and so forth. But then you get into the content of blues. Well, it has to be about those things that cause pain. No, blues is about emotions. And sometimes it's about silly. It can be about anything from the impact of your day to the, something that's completely random, maybe the majestic oxpecker bird, whatever. Whatever it takes, you can write that blues song if it impacts you emotionally. And then I can share it with you. And it's that sharing of emotion that makes blues impactful for its audience. Now, students don't always get that opportunity to be exposed to blues as students. And so coming in and providing these kinds of programs not only gives them that kind of a background, but then helps them to understand how blues has evolved to shape American music completely. So you take these blues songs, and they're just sitting there. And you got this person that plays it, that sings this song, and they got a guitar in their hand, and they stomping their foot, and they're playing this music. Well, somebody else comes along, hears that song, and takes it over here and plays the same song, but instead of just stomping their foot and playing the music on the guitar, they get a person playing drums. Maybe somebody playing bass, maybe somebody playing piano. Maybe they electrify the guitar. Maybe they get a horn section. But each time they do it, that blues song evolves just a little bit more. And that influence from the past to now starts to take shape. Every time, one of the kind of unique things about blues, though, as a folk art, that every time it gets a little bit of a change, it also gets a different name. So you've got blues here, you add the drums, you add the bass. Well, that's got rhythm. We'll call that rhythm and blues. Oh, well, we're gonna add this organ. Well, that sounds kind of churchy. That's soul music. Well, I'll tell you what, let's add these horns and some background singing. Well, that's kind of funky. Let's call that funk. Let's take a couple of the chords out and focus on just the central message that you're trying to give. That's that hip hop thing, ain't it? Well, let's stop singing the words and let's just tell the story over this rhythm. That's rap. But it's always been the story of a culture. That's the constant that blues is. It just evolves to the time, to the situation. Currently, we've taken blues and expanded it to include what I would consider just straight ahead rock and roll. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's actually a beautiful thing. It's got no new ears checking out old songs. They're just being presented by someone different. Blues music is and music in general is kind of an all-encompassing thing. It hits people in different ways, different times. How the story is told, what emotion is behind it, all of those things play into it. But if you feel the music, if it gets inside you, and you can tell that it's coming from the artist, and that's why you feel it, that's the impact that blues has. And music doesn't always do that. If you listen to what goes on within the industry, it used to be that how you enjoyed music determined whether or not it was popular. And currently, we have a system that not only inside of the genres of music do they focus on and focus their marketing, but they even tell you what's popular before you've even heard it. This is pop music. Now, I can play blues guitar, but I've never played pop guitar. Never played a popular guitar. The beauty of all of this is when you make students aware, it gives them the opportunity to take ownership and to realize that they have power over what is popular to them. I tell them it's kind of like going to a buffet. There's so many different things that you can test drive and try, and combinations. But at the end of the day, the only thing anybody ever wants to do is just enjoy it. So that's the final message that I always leave with the kids. Always enjoy the buffet. Thank you very much.